and just go ahead and hopping into the game. We can already see that up in the top right-hand corner of Yanzu is our red Protoss player. His name is Tassadar. And, of course, his opponent down in the bottom left is Vibe. Now, Vibe I know does most of his practicing on the Korea server. So if Tassadar is hoping to trick him with any craziness, I don't think Vibe's going to fall for it.
No, and Tassadar has been known to do a little bit of craziness from time to time, but we're certainly going to be seeing a pylon down at the front of the natural here, which could be Nexus before Forge, or of course it could be the Forge followed by the Nexus, depending on what he feels like his opponent's going to go for. And Vibe is not the kind of player, at least in my experience, to go for any kind of really early aggression. It was a very macro-focused Zerg back in Wings of Liberty, and his style doesn't seem to have changed all that much.
Yeah, and in fact, in Heart of the Swarm, he was actually one of the very first Zerg players to realize, oh, I can turtle on Swarm Host and Spore Crawlers, and it's really hard to attack me. So he's even a little bit of an innovator in that sense. Right now, it looks like.
So can we hate him forever? Because I'm okay with that.
No, man, nobody's allowed to hate Vibe. He's the best.
Vibe is the chillest,
In fact, it looks like he wants to go hatch first. He's almost as chill as Noni.
Almost.
As we see this drone making its way down to the natural, Vibe will be going for a hatchery on the low ground. And like you were talking about, Total Biscuit, looks like Tassadar wants to go Nexus first. He's got a probe down there waiting.
Yep, no reason to build the Forge as of yet. I mean, to be honest, Tassadar didn't even scout, so he had no intention of putting that Forge down earlier. He wouldn't have had any knowledge or any information that would have told him, yeah, you need your Forge down earlier than your Nexus. So this is way, way more common with Protoss lately. I remember back in Wings of Liberty, it was always a case of, oh yeah, Forge fast expand, that's the build. In this case, Tassadar's not even going to put the Forge down, he's going to put a gateway down first. This
is a meta where Zerg has pretty much stopped going for early pools. At least in ZVP. Still see it occasionally in Zerg versus Zerg, but in this matchup it is all but a thing of the past, and Protoss players exploit that by doing things like we're seeing Nexus first into Gateway, into second pylon, which I'm thinking now Tassadar has no choice but to build a Forge. But if we want to be really technical about it, we can see that Vibe is in fact considering getting another hatchery.
Yeah, and frankly, he could have. With the Forge being that late, the risk of cannons was next to zero. And at this point, being aggressive against this wouldn't really make a huge amount of sense. And there it is. The third hatchery comes down. And I feel that was definitely the right decision there from him.
3 hatch building before the 4-minute mark. That's about as greedy as you can be as a Zerg player. Vibe's also getting a couple queens out. Forge is down. Cybernetics Core is also down. This is going to open up some interesting timings for Tassadar. By getting that gateway before Forge, it just means everything's going to be that much quicker. The warp gate, the tech of Tassadar, he could do fun things, you know. And we'll see what in fact it does translate to. Vibe's first Ling's out on the map. They're going to go ahead and do a little bit of scouting. Vibe's already just seen a lot with his Overlord, but you know, Ling's important for other reasons.
Certainly, get a little bit of map control, get control of the Zelnaga watchtowers, make sure that this probe, for instance, doesn't find its way across the field. He will be able to scout the natural, but he may very well lose the probe, and he's certainly not going to be able to place any kind of cheeky pylon. Behind that, we see it will be the Stargate tech, which has become very much more common lately. The +1 Zealot pressure that used to be the go-to build of choice from this has fallen out of favor for the most part, and the Stargate is the option for Tassadar, who is now, of course, playing on 4-Hour Utopia. This is his first game now under the new moniker of FX Open since their name changed today.
Oh, look at you dropping them knowledge bombs, TB. I was not even aware of that. As Mothership Core does pop out. Yeah, and this Stargate play in PvZ, this should be something you're really familiar with, as your Axiom players have loved this brand of Protoss versus Zerg.
Yeah, we do that from time to time, although honestly, the sort of Axiom style of this Stargate play, particularly in WCS Season 1, was very, very focused on heavy Void Ray play. Lately, we've seen a little bit less of the Void Ray, and I think it's because most Zergs have learned that building Corruptors is a dreadful idea. So, as a result, we're seeing a few more Phoenixes come out, and we'll see like a Phoenix and Void Ray force combined with a stronger ground army. Phoenixes for early control, take out Overlords, get good scouting information, and of course, try and snipe off a few drones from the worker line. And then if they need some punch to follow that up, they'll then give you the Void Rays.
Yeah. Well, already the first Phoenix has picked off an Overlord and will continue looking around. Second Phoenix is out, third Phoenix in production. Robo goes down already, Total Biscuit, so quickly we see Tassadar beginning to transition.
Always nice to see, and wow, there's actually going to be 4 Phoenixes coming out, so a fairly reasonable commitment to Phoenix. You generally don't see more than that against Zerg, 5 or 6 perhaps at the most, which even against Roaches can be pretty annoying. If you get enough of them, then you can start to pick off Roaches, you can start to pick off Queens. 2 Phoenixes is of course not enough to kill a Queen when it's in that position. You need about 4 or 5 to really do the lift and kill it before that lift drops down. But strangely enough, Spore Crawlers are actually not that great against Phoenixes. They take far too long to kill them, and Phoenixes are far too maneuverable. So these guys are going to be a bit annoying for a while.
I'm going to pick off a couple more Overlords, might even try to lift a Roach. Yes, in fact, that's exactly what happens. Vibe is actually looking like he wants to put on a little bit of pressure here. Roaches and Speedlings pouring across the map. Tassadar has stopped on 44 probes, Total Biscuit, and he's getting some Immortals out. He's added extra gateways. He might be thinking about a 2-base play. These Roaches and Speedlings will force Photon Overcharge. So this is okay for Vibe, but if Tassadar has no intentions of expanding again and just wants to build a lot of units and go attack.
Oh, he's getting in, and he's got to find himself a sentry as well. That certainly shouldn't have happened. There was a sentry with way too much energy just sitting around doing absolutely nothing. So one goes down unnecessarily. The Roaches will be thrown back eventually, and not a huge amount of damage is going to be done. The Lynx didn't really get into the worker line there, but Tassadar just a little bit sloppy. And interestingly enough, I feel if Tassadar hadn't actually sniped that many Overlords, that pressure would have been far higher. We actually saw a supply block kick in just before these Roaches made their way across the map, so the actual army was a lot smaller than it should have been.
Still no additional probe production from Tassadar, Total Biscuit, but he is getting extended thermal lance, so I am not convinced that he's wanting to do this big 2-base all-in. I'm also not convinced that he doesn't want to do this big 2-base all-in. He's going to need more workers if he ever plans on expanding, so he might just go with a Colossus or 2 and a lot of gateway reinforcements. Phoenixes are still flying around being annoying.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird decision to put the +1 down here at this point, because if he was going to go for this bit, basically the 2-base 2 or 3 Colossus push with that many gateways, which can end a lot of Zerg players if they're not ready for it, then it's kind of strange that you'd throw down the +1 ground weapons there. Admittedly, with enough chrono boost, if he's looking for 3 Colossus, he could actually push out with that +1 and then maybe do a lot of damage. Hydra Den's on the way up here for Vibe, but of course with 3 Colossus, those Hydras are going to go down pretty quickly, and Tassadar's doing a good job as well of preventing creep spread, as well as picking off Queens, so slowing down production. These Phoenixes are doing work, and not a single one's died yet.
Man, these Phoenixes have done great work, about 14 kills between them. As they're going to lift up another Roach, and Vibe is just trying to figure out exactly what his opponent is up to. The Phoenixes have denied all the vision. He's got no idea whether or not there's an expansion. He's seen now that this base has not been taken. He still doesn't know about 12 o'clock, and he's going to try to check this with a couple of Roaches. Instead, he's going to see an army, though, and this should key him up to what's going on. It's a big push.
Yeah, he saw 1 Colossus, but he can definitely suspect a second one. Considering the Mothership Core was going out with it, and around that timing, he would think, right, okay, so this is going to be a push. And +1 is going to be about done by the time this army actually hits the natural. It's going to try and take the 3rd on first, though. A lot of exposed Hydras here. This is absolutely not what you want to fight with if you happen to be Vibe. The Roach count, there's only a single Roach. This is barbecue time.
Oh, great time warp. Force fields are excellent. These Hydras are not going to stand up against this Protoss army. This is about as one-sided of a fight as Tassadar could have hoped for, and this kind of delayed 2-base push. It could have come much faster, but he took his time with it, and I think that really threw Vibe off, and it's proving to be just so incredibly strong.
And honestly, I feel that Vibe would have been better off just not attacking at all. He didn't accomplish anything. There's the GG immediately. But as I was saying, he didn't accomplish anything with that initial Roach push and the Lynx. He lost a lot. If he'd had more Roaches at the front, he would have had a better chance.